Now let us talk about the significance of transpiration. There are 7 points that you have to keep in mind. The first and the foremost one is the most important, and we are going to dedicate whole amount of lessons, good amount, 2 or 3 lessons in understanding this ascent of sap with respect to root pressure and the movement of sap above the plant, how plant meets its water requirements. So the important role is being played by transpiration. So that is why, as I told you in the previous lesson, that it is the necessary evil. Why? Because it is responsible for ascent of sap. Now what is sap? Sap is the fluid inside the plant which has water and mineral content inside it. Okay, so sap is the main mineral containing fluid inside the plant that is moving from one place to another and carrying out the vascular system, as you can call it. It is carrying out the vascular needs where it takes minerals from one place to another. At the same time, because it is being dissolved in the water, it makes sure that water also reaches certain places wherever it is required. So this sap's ascent, that means its movement upwards from the root in the soil, supposedly this is the soil, from the root in the soil to the leaves, this particular movement of water upwards to as much height as the plant is having, that is known as ascent of sap. Certain scientists came and pioneered in the study of ascent of sap, certain failed, and by the end of our understanding, no, but not by the end, the present day of understanding that we have, the present day understanding, that tells us that ascent of sap, however huge the tree would be, however tall the tree would be, it would be transpiration, that is a negative pull, that would be playing a crucial role in the ascent of sap. We will study about it, but for now you need to know what is ascent of sap. That is the movement of water from the soil up to the topmost point in the plant. That is known as ascent of sap, and transpiration has a crucial role to play in it as the negative pull. Now, secondly, as I told you earlier, as much as 99% of the water is being lost into the atmosphere. So, we get an idea that plants usually absorb more water, much more water than what is required. And much more is also a smaller term, much more water than what is required, because ultimately they take lesser than 1% of water that they absorb. So, how that excess water is to be get rid of? That is by the process of transpiration that easily lose it to the atmosphere. Then because the process is an evaporative process, it has its cooling effect. Whatever heat is being generated inside the plant tissues due to the radiant energy, the water as it moves out in the form of vapors, it is an evaporative process, as you know, it results in the cooling of the surfaces. So it has a cooling effect as well. Then we have mechanical tissue. Transpiration has a great significance when it comes to the growth of mechanical tissue, because ultimately it is the turgidity that is maintained inside the plants that is responsible, that means the water content that is inside the tissues, that is responsible for development of mechanical tissues which provide strength to the plant. Moving further, we have increasing concentration of mineral salts that is brought about by transpiration itself. You know that inside the sap there is much lesser quantity of minerals, because we know that minerals are always lesser in quantity inside the plant. They are much more in the soil, and soil can take up less amount of mineral concentration. On the contrary, there is so much of water absorption that the sap becomes almost diluted. But because of transpiration that is taking place, the water is being lost, the mineral concentration increases because the sap becomes concentrated, and when it becomes concentrated, the concentration of the mineral salt is increased, and that much concentration is required for basic plant activities. So in a way, transpiration is helping in increasing the concentration of mineral salts by getting rid of the water, that means by decreasing the solvent content and increasing the number of solutes which are present. Then we have the last two significant aspects of transpiration which take into account the root system and the quality of fruits. If the transpiration of the plant, that means, if the transpiration of the plant is high, which means that the rate of transpiration is higher for the plant, it is certain that the root system is going to develop properly. Okay, so those plants which transpire a lot, they have a well developed root system, because certainly one which is doing a lot of transpiration would require a lot of root area or root surface area for absorption. That is why we say that root system is well developed in the plants which have high rate of transpiration. And lastly, you can relish and savor on juicy fruits if the plant is transpiring more. So the fruity content, or I would say the sugar content of the fruits, is higher if the plant has a higher rate of transpiration. So we have 6 to 7 points which put a light on the significance of transpiration. And do keep in mind, ascent of sap is the most crucial aspect of transpiration, and we are going to study about it in terms of various theories that have been proposed, various theories which have been discarded, and there would be one theory which would have its importance and that would be acceptable by all. That would be cohesion tension theory, and it is termed as cohesion tension transpiration pull theory. So you can make out the importance of transpiration from the name itself, that the transpiration pull has a mention in the name of that theory. So transpiration has a great role and significance in the ascent of sap inside a plant.